Eh, manners, respect, manners, respect. Yes, me almost say it. Manners, respect people. You know it. Go already. Big up on yourself. It's cold outside. Wherever you are, and it's warm. That's very nice for you. To the people that are in the cold country, stay warm. All right, people. So again, today for me, it's the third. In my head, today it's the 3rd of February. There's a lot of happening in today's society, and again, everybody's scrambling to give out hottest information, and no wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with you getting direct information, but most of the information that's given out, 2 minutes later, 3 minutes later, people forget about it, right? One of the biggest or the hottest topic right now is the mass deportation of criminals, quote unquote, from America. Now, one of the talk is everybody was happy when it was just criminals breaking into places, criminals. But in these people, anybody they deem a criminal is a criminal. So a person across the border illegal is a criminal. No if, ands, or but. But these people who thought, well, they were only talking gun criminal. So you see, one of the saying them always say is every time you dig a grave, dig two. One for you and one for the person you dig it for. Alright? So when you dig two, dig one for you and one for them. So the people them I guess that was digging deportation for the people that they thought was criminals. They didn't think they were included. So many things have changed and it's changing rapidly. Again, it comes down to the details of certain situation, right? It didn't come down to the fine print. Nobody never read the fine print. Everybody just accept that whatever is gonna happen is gonna be good for me. So that's pretty much, you know, the hot topic that's happening right now in 2025. Them choose a president, then put him in place, and now them say the president is the problem. I already spoke about it already. Most of the time, people in power, them go in power and them don't do what they campaign to do. And that's the same thing I said about web designer people. Web designer people, they're politicians. Them say them can't do this, them can't do that. But trust me, that's a totally different story. But politicians are people who usually don't keep their word. And politicians don't really have a reason to keep them word unless them have a passion for what they're talking about. I don't know it's known that all politicians are corrupted when it's the people who elect these people. But a few out of the many will always do a good job, right? So tonight's late night chat as we continue the journey, right? So one of the people that me pick tonight for talk about is okay. I have to find his information. But I say everybody that I'm choosing to highlight are people that I'm aware of in say you know about these people, you read about these people, but it's like you only hear about them people when it's like birthday times or um just times when when them attach something important to these people. And most of the time when they attach things to these people, it's usually to make money, right? So I'm choose W.E.B. Debois. That I choose. All right. I heard about him before and everything. I know a little bit about him and everything, but not details. Because again, it's not like these people are say, you see, every day, just like how I say we can attach a date to a number and it means something. So calendar supposed to be filled. We're supposed to attach a person to our calendar. Even calendar, like I don't know who make calendar, but when I'm saying if I'm creating a calendar, some other create a calendar. There's an attachment for every day. That's important. So every day is an important day for somebody in history, somebody you know who set or who set a standard or who impact our lives. All right. It tells us there's so much we can dive into and we can come up with so much amazing stories about amazing people. We can have discussions, we can have seminars and stuff like that to start pay attention to what's important. We're not take away from nobody, but I'm just saying everything is being taken away from us. So let's just rally around greatness. Huh? Okay, so this is wait let him it is February 2, but it's actually February 23rd. Wow. That me tell you say sometimes it like everything that I'm doing is just coming like say everything is just I mean, I click, I mean, just I read, I mean, just I learn, I mean, I get to understand, I mean, I share all of the stuff that I'm supposed to do, right? Born in Great Barrington, Massachusetts, on February 23rd, 1868. Debois birth certificate as his name as William E. Debois. 2 years after his birth, his father, Alfred Dubois, left his mother, Mary Sylvina Burgart. Dubois became the first person in his extended family to attend high school and did so at his mother's insistence. In 1883, Dubois began to write articles for papers like the New York Globe and the Freeman. This is 1883. Dubois initially attended Fisk University in Nashville, Tennessee, a school for black students. A school for black students. His tuition was paid by several churches in Great Barrington. Okay, all right. You see the funny thing about it, when him say the church is in Great Barrington. I saw me feel the church is supposed to contribute to the community. The church not supposed to just take the money, right? And I buy big house and I buy big car. That's I don't see that's what the church is supposed to be for. If there's certain values, how is that value for you to buy a big house, buy a big car, right? Pull off in a nice clothes, one bag of money, right? And the people who are contributing to the church are not benefiting. This is when I say mother set up a system where okay, like 10 people out of the church this week would I get a percentage out of the donation, right? And every week, like a next 10 person would qualify, or 20 person or whatever. It's just not just collecting a one-way street. So when I see that these situations did are going from how unify the community was, them pay this man tuition fee, right? Because even back then there was tuition fee, you still have to pay for education and knowledge, right? So just the fact that the church used to do them things, that's why I say, why did the church stop, right? And not just a one-way street. So Dubois became an editor for the Earl, the student magazine. After graduation, Dubois attended Harvard University starting in 1888. That's three eights. And eventually receiving advanced degrees in history. In 1892, Dubois worked towards a PhD at the University of Berlin until his funding ran out. So he must study at University of Berlin. And money run out. We always have money problem. He returned to the United States without his doctorate, but later received one from Harvard while teaching classes at Wilberforce University in Ohio. There, he married Nina Gorner, one of his students, in 1896. His doctoral thesis, The Suppression of the African Slave Trade to the United States of America, 1638 to 1870, became his first book and a standard in American education covering slavery. What? The first book. The first book the man write, his doctoral thesis, became his first book and a standard in American education covering slavery. I forgot to read 2 pages out of that for real. Dubois took a position at the University of Pennsylvania in 1896, 1888, so 1896. Okay. Conducting a study of the city's seventh ward, published in 1899 as the Philadelphia Negro. The work took up so much of his time that he missed the birth of his first son in Great Barrington. The study is considered one of the early examples of statistical work being used for sociological purposes, with extensive fieldwork resulting in hundreds of interviews conducted door to door by Dubois. The mapping out the Seventh Ward and carefully documenting familial and work structures, Dubois concluded that the black community's greatest challenges were poverty, crime, lack of education, and distrust of those outside the community. Now it's inside the community the distrust there. The US, the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics offered Dubois a job in 1897, leading to several groundbreaking studies on black Southern households in Farmville, Virginia, that uncovered how slavery still affected the personal lives of African Americans. Dubois would do four more studies for the Bureau, two in Alabama and two in Georgia. These studies were considered radical at the time when sociology existed in pure theoretical forms. So there was no proof of such theory, no practical. Dubois was pivotal in making investigation and data analysis crucial to sociological study. During the same period, Dubois wrote The Strivings of the Negro People for the Atlantic Monthly, a groundbreaking essay that explained to white readers how it feels to be a victim of racism. It is considered the general public's introduction to Dubois, the souls of black folk. Dubois and family moved to Atlanta University, where he taught sociology and worked on his additional Bureau of Labor Statistics studies. Among the books written during this period was The Souls of Black Folks, a collection of sociological essays examining the Black experience in America, partially derived from his Atlantic article. It embraced Du Bois' personal history in his arguments. The book also introduced the idea of double consciousness, in which African Americans are required to consider not only. You guys not gonna hear that anyways. Okay, among the books written, okay, in his arguments, the book also introduced the idea of double consciousness, in which African Americans are required to consider not only their views of themselves, but also the view that the world, particularly white, has on them during all parts of life. It also expressed differentiated Du Bois from more conservative black voices like Booker T. Washington. More on doing too. In 1899, Du Bois' son Burgard contracted diphtheria and died after Du Bois spent the night looking for one of three black doctors in Atlanta, since no white doctor would treat the child. A resulting essay, The Passing of the Firstborn, appeared in The Soul of Black Folks. In 1903, Du Bois taught summer schools at Booker T. Washington Tuskegee University. So we did start out with the Tuskegee experiment. That are the first. When we start, go through this, me do the Tuskegee University. Me have to go back and label that video there, cause that me and my nephew did that talk about. But friction, friction between the two men led to Du Bois joining Washington's rival in the Niagara movement. Okay, so there was a Tuskegee movement and there was a Niagara movement, charged with seeking justice and equality for African Americans. That group failed, partly due to I know you guys are not going to hear that play because I tried that before and I never played. So there's a pop up like people talking over, but I'm saying sometimes I can play what they're saying, and sometimes I'd rather read through and learn. Okay, that group failed partly due to opposition from Washington, but during its existence, Dubois published the Moon Illustrated Weekly, the first weekly magazine for African Americans, producing a total of 34 issues before folding in 1906. He followed this up briefly with the journal Horizon. I'm sure some never get no support from them book there. I can guarantee some nobody never support him. In 1910, Dubois accepted the dictatorship of the recently formed NAACP. I know that what that is. It's 1910 that was from. He moved to New York City and served as the editor of the organization monthly magazine, The Crisis. The magazine was a huge success and became very influential, covering the race relations and black culture with Du Bois' forthright style. The magazine stood out for its continual endorsement and coverage of women's suffrage. Du Bois worked for the NAACP for 24 years, during which time he published his first novel, The Quest of the Silver Fleece. After a brief second stint at Atlanta University, Debois returned to the NAACP and as Director of Special Research in 1944 and representing the organization at the first meeting at the United Nations. Debois also became more interested in communism and international issues and became an open supporter of progressive and left wing groups, which created problems with NAACP leadership. He left the organization again in 1948. Okay, so here, W.E.B. Du Bois and communism. Du Bois' radicalism continued in the public sphere, running as the Progressive Party candidate for Senate in 1950 and losing. He and other members of the Peace Information Center were charged as agents of a foreign principle inspired by the organization's Soviet leanings, but were acquitted in a trial in 1951. Following the death of his wife in 1950, Dubois married Shirley Graham the following year. Graham's interest led Dubois further into exploring communism, delving into the American communist community and becoming known for his apologetic view of Joseph Stalin. Joseph Stalin. In 1961, Dubois officially joined the American Communist Party before leaving the country to live in Ghana at the invitation of its president and becoming a citizen there. Okay. Dubois first conceived of the Encyclopedia Africana in 1908 as a compendium, compendium of history and achievement of people of African descent, designed to bring a sense of unity to the African diaspora. Unable to raise the needed funds, Dubois wasn't able to revisit the project until 1935, but it was disrupted by professional battles. But it was interrupted by professional battles. Dubois published some entries from the proposed encyclopedia and even editions of research materials, but it wasn't until 1962 that a further promise was made to complete the encyclopedia. After Dubois was invited to move to Ghana, he pledged to finally publish the work, but it was never realized before his death. Dubois died on August 27, 1963, in Ghana and was given a state funeral. Okay, so that's pretty much again is just a cover of W.E.B. Dubois. Again, these people they set an example from way back in history. These people they were intelligent and carry themselves a certain way, they represent the culture a certain way. Okay, so again, these are the information that is there, that the information that we don't actually dive into. As I said, I'd rather put these guys on a t-shirt to represent something, you know. That's just my views. Because again, these people are great. These people set an amazing example. If we carry on the tradition, I highlight them people here. And I'm just going over some of the information them that's here. These people are smart from them young, you know. Most of them people women that I'm looking up, them people is highly in, intelligent. Okay, the social philosophy, the Negro problem and race. Over the course of his career, Dubois' social philosophy compromised contribution to social ontology, social theory, the philosophy of the human, and the thing about it is, input human and in agenda words, and social sciences, and the diagnosis of social problems, is analysis of the nature of a social problem and specifically is diagnosis of the Negro problems, is social constructionist accounts of race and racial differences, is ongoing reflections on the methods, purpose, and sometimes moral significance of social inquiry, and is elaboration of the claim that the concept of race operating as a mechanism of power structures relations of social dominations, all play a critical role in what he ultimately came to call his evolving program for Negro freedom. The present section bears on Du Bois' analysis of Negro problem and his contribution to the philosophy of race, focus on his contribution to the philosophy of the social science. Again, them people are well, 100 million times more educated than poor little me. Yeah, me I say? But learning and understanding how great these people were, it's inspiration. Okay, what is the nigger problem? Dubois considers the nigger problem both objectively and subjectively, both from the standpoint of science and from the standpoint of lived experience. Okay, the nigger problem objectively considered In the study of the nigger problem, 1898, one of his earliest publications, Dubois responded to then contemporary discussion of America's Negro problem, by conceptualizing the problem as an object of social scientific inquiry. Social problems affecting American Negroes. The Negro is not a problem in his view, although problems affect the Negro. uh, so certain people are way smarter than me. That's why I say, rather listen to these or play the professor, read from the professors, the scientists, the people that don't know more than me, right? See Gordon 2000. In the perspective of sociology, the nigger problem just is a cluster of social problem. But what is social problem? Dubois answers this question by defining a social problem as the failure of an organized social group to realize its group ideals through the inability to adopt a certain desired line of action to give conditions of life. One example is the failure to enact the ideal of a luxurious home life due to prevailing marriage customs. Another is the failure to enact the ideal of economic and social development due to crime and lawlessness. The historic evolution of the social problems that Du Bois identifies as Negro problems has been a baffling adjustment of actions and conditions, which is the essence of progress. Turning to the present, Du Bois characterized the then current Negro problem as so many failures to enact the ideal of incorporating the Negro masses into the group life of the American people. Dubois attributes these failures to two causes: white racial prejudice towards Negroes and Negro culture backwardness. Racial prejudice is the conviction that people of Negro blood should not be admitted into the group life of the nation no matter what their condition may be. Cultural backwardness is an economic disadvantage, ignorance, and deficiency with regard to the art of organized social life. Each of these causes accounts for one of two distinct classes of Negro problem. Look, I guess, but no. Understanding is not, I'm not gonna say that. Okay, so Dubois' social ontology and casual explanation of Negro problems lay in the basis for his research agenda. The study of the Negro as a social group focuses on Negro problems that have arisen independently of racial prejudice in the Negro social environment. In turn, the study of the Negro social environment considers Negro problems that have resulted from racial prejudice. Du Bois' program for studying the Negro as a social group includes historical study, statistical investigation, and anthropological, anthropological measurements and sociological interpretation. Why then people just up pure big wordy? And people did smart for real. We tell you, these is like these are scholars, right? These people are scholars that Them people are study, them go to school, them read, they educate themselves. Them teach them kids the same thing, For them kids is as smart as they are, or even smarter. Them things are is not these are not the things these are not the things that people want to sit down and read and understand. But I say I'm loving these stuff because it just shows you how amazing these people are. It's our blood. These people blood flows through us. I don't know about uno, but that's why I say I have to take pride in who I am. And then people are some definitely some inspiration. Inspiration, right? So people, I say I love the fact say the information is so readily available for us to reach out and read, learn, understand. Okay. Look, these people are educated people, so I have to take my time and read and make sure say but I'm still loving it. I love the fact say I can just make a tape of these information and then later on I can go over them. You know what I mean? And then people can listen, can go do no research. Okay, in Dubois' view, the nigger problem is a subjectively lived and felt social condition, not only an object of social scientific inquiry. In strivings of the Negro people in, and the souls of black folks, Dubois adduces the concept of double consciousness to characterize the subjectively lived and felt experience of the Negro problem, ascribing double consciousness specifically to Negro. Dubois characterized it as a sense of always looking at oneself through the eyes of others, of measuring one's soul by the tape of a world that looks on in amused contempt and pity. In Dubois' view, double consciousness obtains when blacks see themselves through the pitying and contemptuous eyes of the racially prejudiced whites, whose racial prejudice is one of the causes of the Negro problem. The concept of double consciousness is the most extensively discussed concept in the humanities and social science secondary literature and Dubois, and it has received substantial attention from philosophers. The present brief discussion of the concept is intended simply to situate it within. Okay, look. Okay, let me start again. The present brief discussions of the concept is intended simply to situate it within the larger context of the Bois social philosophy. For a more detailed account of Dubois' understanding of double consciousness and a survey of contemporary philosophical disputes about the content and significance of the concept, see the entry on double consciousness. Yo, them people had talk some big talk. And this is like way before. What is a Negro? What is a race? What is whiteness? Mm, mm. All right, people. We're there. We are dive deep down in this year. In the study of the Negro problems, Dubois predicates his analysis of Negro problems on his analysis of social problems as such. In another early essay, The Conservation of Race, he similarly predicates his answer to the question, what is a Negro? On an answer to a more fundamental question, what is a race? Debois turned to the human science to say what a race is, but also to account for the existence of spirituality, distinct race. Wait there, wait there. Dubois turns to the human science to say what a race is, but also to account for the existence of spirituality, distinct races. Dubois' historical sociological definition of race overlaps his historical sociological explanation of the existence of spirituality, distinct races. To put the point more precisely and in an adonym that is familiar to contemporary philosophers, Debois holds that the same sort of historical and social factors construct race both constitutively and casually. Same sort of historical and social factors construct race. We begin by analyzing Dubois' explanation of the distinctiveness of distinct race. Yo, woo-wee, I'm so happy that's gonna happen over here. Ah, we are going in some really, yo, we are rolling with some smart people, people. I tell you, so them people are smarter than, definitely 100 million times smarter than me. I'm tell you, so these people, the knowledge where them have, if you no can't feel the essence of them people, how great them people is. And them just normal people, everyday people, who go through the struggle, but them just deal with situation in an extraordinary way. Them solve problem, solution driven. One of the things when I say, it's nice to find myself within them things here. See? Because I always say I not belong, I always feel away there. The reason why I'm a loner is because I not belong in a certain environment. I tell you, say, books was always my friend. Reading books, getting lost with people going on their journey, their adventure. That was what I say. Reading these things just give me the just. You see, me have some plans I come up. Hopefully things will work out. Cause I tell you, say I'm pushing ahead. It's good to write down what you want, how much you want, and how you go about it. Now have a conversation yesterday and that me say, this is what I want. How do I get it? And it comes with opportunity. You have to seek the opportunity, and all the time opportunity come from where you're expecting it. Cause me tell you say, most of the time it doesn't matter. Even if a person will get paid to do a job, if they don't want to do the job, there's nothing that's gonna make. But him I get 30. That it doesn't matter how much them I get, they don't have to do it. And this is one of the things that we have to realize. We can't force people. We can't have expectation from people who are not gonna put the effort in to fulfill that expectation. That just comes with disappointment. And many times people, when we listen to people talk sometimes and see how them hurt, it's disappointment will hurt the most. It's like, boy, and them let me down, and me did. Yes. But that the person there will take your $100,000. And that's what he wanted. And not that him get. Him never have no intention to do what him say. So when me I read them things and I see all them people with so much knowledge, the standard where them set, just the level of them head within for them space, because you can't be so good with a unlevel mind. You can't be so strong wills to persevere through all of them stuff here and have a weak mind. Nowadays, they call it the B word. But me say a weak mind, weak-minded people do things. When you see them, you can't tell say their mind weak. It's not strong enough to play a game of checkers, much less a game of chess. And that me say, the mind weak. Because if you can't see a woman plant her stuff and you can again yourself a man and you see how hard it take for she do what she do, and you as a man consider yourself and you got thief where she work for, and when she did not ask for help, I pay you for help, you never do it. It's like say you condemn her over and over. So when we hear them people talk with the sense of purpose, the pride, when them say them people are roll over in them grave because the people them are supposed to take a little essence from them and carry it on. Them say, oh, that are in the past. Them people they dead long time. They did all of them things there. Oh, a old man that, a old woman that, you know, figure along a bush. Them things there. I say, out of our mouth. That's why I say we curse each other every day. The things that we say to each other, it's never uplifting. It's never keep on keeping on. You still alive? Anything black no good. All of the things them we say is so vile. The frequency so it's I'm gonna bring on one of them lower frequency. For me, I don't care. Me just go bring on one of them with the bag of knives and shouting just for see. And then play somebody having a conversation, communicating, trying to elevate the next person. Because they know that that person being elevated is not gonna take away anything from them. And that me I talk about. Because the more you teach her, the more you're gonna learn. The eagerness to learn more. But we just cut that off. Just weak mind. Can't have a conversation. Can't communicate. TikTok mentality. And there's nothing wrong with the app. It's just the people them who use the program to shorten their mind so they can expand. Just like how your mind can become short attention, you can't stretch your mind. That's why I'm saying I don't want to make nothing like no 20 minutes nothing. I'm not go on. If you can't take the time to listen and understand, then it's not for you. That's why I said there's so much things out there you can gravitate to. Go, gravitate to where you want. Because you see them people here, are them gravitate to. Them energy is not supposed to just cut off. You can draw the words out of each other. Now make them draw you out. That means they don't enjoy the devil out of you. That my tongues don't just say it and done. Because it's not like you say, no make them draw out the angel. It's always draw the words out of each other. That's our practice. So when we read all of these stuff, when I did younger, my dad I go read books and stuff like that. This is what you have to be able to retain the information and then understand it. Okay, we'll get back to some intelligent stuff. We begin by analyzing Debois' explanation of the distinctiveness of distinct races. We then turn to his definition of race, which he introduced to counter the objection that because spirituality, distinct race cannot be identified as races from the perspective of the natural science. So your spirituality can be measured by science. They cannot be identified as race at all. After considering contemporary philosophies, ongoing debates about Du Bois' definition of race is conservation. We turn to Du Bois' later treatment of race and the notion of whiteness in Dusk of Dawn, Black Reconstruction, and the Soul of White Folk. Wow, I'm tell you something, I really text somebody deep. We don't mind. This is what I'm saying. This is what it's all about. All of the people that when me I talk about for the last 3 days, they're all amazing people. And me say me just gonna find more and more and more. In explaining and defining race, Dubois participates in a turn of the century conversation in German philosophy about the subjects and method that distinguish that. Okay, all right, let me spit out a piece of tongue there when I bite off. No, sir. A good thing nobody now listen to me, not you. In explaining and defining race, Dubois participated in a turn of the century conversation in Germany philosophy about the subjects and methods that distinguish the human from the natural science. That is the Genesis Swift coffin. That looks like a German word. Genesis for coffin. From the natural Swift coffin, responding to Auguste Comte's and J. S. Mill's effort to reform the human science and the model of the natural sciences. German scholars addressed a variety of questions as to the human sciences, cognitive aims, possible methodological, metho, methodological, met- methodological anatomy, anatomy, and dependence on psychology. When Dubois arrived in Berlin in 1892, the conversation was well underway and had already benefited from the significant contributions of Wilhelm Delphi and Wilhelm Wundt. Okay, to me, most of them people, these are all like scholars. Them name me sounds scholarship type, enough papers, enough degrees. I am just saying, them name ya, and all of them big word ya. Okay, that's maybe me have to go do deep dive in all of this, but it's not a problem. Several years earlier, okay, Dilly and William won it several years earlier. During the 1890s, there were further contribution, in particular the writings of George Simmel, Willem Windelband, and Heinrich Rickert. Although Dubois initially presented the conservation of races as an address to the American Negro Academy, the essay was a significant addition to the German debate, for it marks Dubois' turn from the Naturwissenschaft to the Geist, Geist Swishen Schaffen. Okay, so it's spelled Nature Wissenschaften is spelled Naturwissenschaften. Just so much word in one word is a long word. Okay, so Janus Swishefen is spelled Geisteswissenschafen. So that gonna a pronunciation of how you can try pronounce it. But again, me tell you say most of the time it's not gonna be fluent the very first time you read it or the second time. And obviously this is my first time reading this information because again I know about these people, but knowing a little bit more about them, this is why I'm doing details. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Okay. To explain the difference between races and to conceptualize racial identities. Although Debois essays acknowledge as the final word of science so far that physical difference distinguish at least two, perhaps three great families of human beings. Whoa, this is the first time them use the word human beings. The whites, the Negroes, possibly the yellow race. Woo! So you see, even before I started with the 12 colors, there was colors before me. Phew. And I was told I have never heard of the colors before. Okay, and here it is being spoken in 1890s. My goodness, they spoke about people in the term of color, and then I we weren't considered black. We were considered Negroes. It more important. That's one thing we did talk about with when I did uh, Miss Garvey, and they use mulatto. So this is what I'm saying. Sometimes these are where we have to, highlight the color thing. Sometimes it's a barrier, boundaries, borders, right? Possibly the yellow race. So they're saying there's three different races, right? It more importantly, maintain that there exists eight spiritually distinct races. Eight spiritually distinct races. Eight spiritually distinct races. Not just two, three, four, five, six, seven, eight. It also maintains that each spiritually distinct race as such is casually constructed by historical and social factors. Casually constructed by historical and social factors. For it asserts that each spiritually distinct race casually owns its spiritual distinctiveness, its peculiar message, which dictates its peculiar historical role. To such factors, specifically to the common histories, laws, religions, habits of thoughts, and conscious strivings that have caused it to be cohesive, spiritually distinct race it is, and conscious strivings that have caused it to be cohesive, spiritually distinct race it is. Debois also holds that the spiritual distinctiveness of a social historical race cannot be explained in terms of physical, biological facts. Like William Dilly, whose introduction to the human science, 1883, had appeared a decade before Debois heard him lecture in Berlin. He expressly questions the possibility of casual explanations that reduce spiritual facts and difference to biological facts and differences. Thus, Dubois rejects the physio-biological reductionism characteristics of 19th century racial science. The thesis that physical race differences casually explains the spiritual and cultural differences between racial groups. Spiritual differences have historical and social causes, law, religion, and so on, which Dubai takes to be casually independent of biological and racial facts. Wow, this man, look, this man is a brainful. For real, this man is a brainful. But look, I'm loving it. Honestly, I'm liking. I mean, me have to go do like a many chapters on this because this man has a lot of content. He has a lot of he has a lot of information, and the information it's amazing. So somebody can actually think these thoughts and go actually challenge them people. Yeah. Okay, defining race. Okay, all right. So that spirituality distinct groups may not be readily identified as race if one adopt the perspective of the natural science does not entail that they cannot be identified as races at all. Debois holds that the natural science and the human science have distinct subject matters, physical facts on one hand, spiritual facts on the other, and suggests that the former, because they conceptualize human beings exclusively in physical terms, cannot conceptualize them in terms of social and historical facts, and thus cannot conceptualize them in terms of the social and historical facts that define spirituality, distinct groups as races. Du Bois' reason for claiming that social and historical fact transcend scientific definition, if however one adopts the perspective of the human science, if in other words one adopts the conceptual eyes in quote of the historian and the sociologist, then one sees these social and historical facts standing clearly defined to one's point of view. To this point of view, so okay, so when I try to say now, if our history is concept, you see them use the word conceptualize, eyes, in quote again. If you say, if we are look through somebody's eyes, somebody else's eyes, the historical fact stands in clearly defined to one's point of view. So whose point of view it's gonna point to? Just one person, right? Oh. But then I got you some, me I got you some that deep. Me I tell you them people are this smart, you know. Them people are did really smart, me I tell you. Transcends scientific definition. If, however, one adopt the perspective of the human science, if, in other words, one adopt the conceptual eyes of the historians and the sociologists, then one sees these social and historical fact stances clearly defined to one's point of view. From this point of view, Dubois proposes it is possible to identify spiritually distinct races as races and thus to state a definition of race, or in other words, to specify the historical and social factors that constitute of human being as a race. What then is race? It is a vast it is a vast family of human beings generally of common blood and language, always of common history. We're telling us that people. What then is race? It is a vast family of human beings, generally of common blood and language, always of common history, traditions, and impulse, who are both voluntarily and involuntarily striving together for the accomplishment of certain more or less vividly conceived ideals of life. Ah, boy. Me say, yo, you need some water for that one here for real. But me say, just the fact say, we have to have something in common. We have to be in a the struggle. We have to have some goals. We have to have something what life is all about. Hmm. Here, Dubois distinguished between the factors that usually characterize a race and the factors that must always characterize a race. That is, the factors that constitute a group of people as a race. Dubois' definition proposed that a group of human beings counts as a spiritually distinct race if and only if the members of the group have a common history, common traditions and impulse, and common voluntary and involuntary striving. Counting as members of a spiritually distinct race does not require a common blood or a common language. However, although the member of a spiritually distinct race may indeed speak the same language or have the same blood coursing through their veins, Goodwin Williams 1996 to 2009 and Sundstrom 2003. I guess these are reference book that I guess proclaim that Dubois' definition assert that each spiritually distinct race is as such cons- constitutively constructed by the historical and social factors. The definition specifies as making a race a race. It has not escaped notice that the list of historical and social factors that Dubois identifies as casually constructing as explaining the existence and cohesiveness of spiritually distinct races, common histories, laws, religions, habits of thoughts, and conscious strivings echo the list of factors he identifies as constitutively constructing as defining a group of human beings as a spiritually distinct race. Common history, tradition, impulses, and striving. See Goodwin Williams 2009. Okay, this book then keep on referring to. It doesn't give you no information on it though. Okay, to be sure the lists are not identical. Still, we can reasonably assume that Dubois means that to capture the same content, supposing that the traditions and impulses indicated in the second list include legal and religious traditions as well as persistent habits of thought. Dubois holds not only that historical and social factors constitutively and casually construct spiritually distinct races, but likewise that the same kinds of historical and social factors constitutively and casually construct spiritually distinct races. What then is a Negro? To be a Negro, Dubois replies, is one, to be a member of one of three biological distinct races. To be a member of one of three biologically distinct race, and two, to be a member of one of 8 constitutively and casually constructed, spiritually distinct races. The Negro is spiritually distinguished from other spiritually distinct races by its distinctive message. The content of which Debois argues is not yet fully articulated. Huh? By its distinctive message. So that means we don't speak, we don't communicate. I said that all the time. This man was saying way back when. Debating Debois' explanation and definition of race. Okay, you see, debating. That doesn't say arguing right there. It says debating. That means everybody has a say. Contemporary philosophers have devoted considerable attention to Dubois. Look, contemporary philosophers. That means there are enough of them. I've devoted considerable attention to Dubois' explanation and definition of race in the conservation of races. Indeed, they have given more attention to Dubois' definition than to his treatment of any other philosophical issue. Nearly all that attention can be traced to Kwame Anthony Appiah's engagement with Dubois in the uncompleted argument. Dubois, there you go. You see, the uncompleted argument, them still argue. Obviously, no argument is ever finished. Oh, I'm telling you, these people are just reinforcing what I'm saying. Okay, so the uncompleted argument, Dubois and the illusion of race, an expanded version of which Appiah published as the second chapter, Illusion of Race, of In My Father's House, Appiah, 1992. Appiah's critique of Dubois, see Appiah, 1985, and Appiah, 1992. So I guess these are books that I have to go do my research on. Yes. For three key claims that Dubois' definition of race fails to state criteria that serve to individuate is 8 spiritually distinct races. 2. That notwithstanding Dubois' intention to conceptualize race in socio-historical terms, the criteria he in fact uses to individuate spiritually distinct race comprise a physical biological component, specifically the idea of a common ancestry. And 3, that notwithstanding his ongoing post conservation efforts to substitute a socio historical conception of race for the biological one. The logic of his arguments lead naturally to the final repudiation of race as a term of difference. Okay, same book, Appiah 1985, page 34-35. Appiah endorses this conclusion, stating that the truth is that there are no races, and that the notion of race that Dubois required that underlies the most hateful racism of modern era. Even then, they were modern, definitely modern. Refers to nothing in the world at all. Again, they're saying that the notion of race that Debois required that underlies the most hateful racism of the modern era refers to nothing in the world at all. For the most part, philosophical criticism of Appiah's reading of Dubois has targeted his analysis of Dubois' definition and his anti-realism about race. In an early response to Appiah, Lucas Outlaw, 1996, page 28, argues that Du Bois' definition of race is the articulation of a cluster concept, and not, as Appiah presumes, the statement of a set of conditions individually necessary and jointly sufficient to constitute a group of people as a race. So he's saying there's no uh, concept. I don't understand. It's in addition to Outlaw 1996, page 21 to 22 and 28, defense and attributes to Dubois' version of racial realism, ac- according to which biological ancestry and physical characteristics play a role in defining race. Other critics of Appiah's reading of Dubois as being less inclined than Outlaw to defend or to attribute Dubois a definition of race involving biological characteristic. Rather, they have tended to argue that Appiah's argument to the contrary, Dubois succeeded in advancing a plausible non-biological socio-historical definition of race. Paul Taylor, 2000. For example, take issue with Appiah's claim that Du Bois appealed to common history as a criterion of individuation is circular, arguing that Appiah misconstrues Du Bois' understanding of what it means for two individuals to have a history in common. Uh, I said not common, but similar. I said we can have similar experience. It's not the same experience, it's similar experience. So again then people it was technical, and again these pretty much is argument against what Mr. Dubois theories are, right? Again, this is one of the people that I'm looking at. He's he's a very smart person, right? He's one of us. He had a lot of challenges. So some of his philosophies and stuff I'm gonna have to go over too. I'm telling you, detail these stuff is it's nice. But again, looking at this, they're pretty much arguing against his belief because he says there's three race, but there's three spiritual race. But these people are saying, well, there's no proof that there's spiritual race because there's no uh there's no proper reference of the concept of race. Okay, so Bernardini, all of these people are all, I guess they're all philosophers. According to Bernardini, which is our next recent philosophical discussion of the boy explanation and definition of race, have tended to distort its meaning by imposing an alien question on it. Same book, page 2000, 2009, page 519. Rather than read The Conservation of Race in light of contemporary argument about racial eliminativism, about whether, in a player's words, race should be repudiated, repudiated as a term of difference. What repudiated mean? And a proper referent of the concept of race, which means them probably want to take out and put in something different. Bernasconi places Debois' essay in its immediate political and historical setting. Specifically, he emphasized Dubois' engagement with the thought of Edward Wilmot Blyden, Alexander Cromwell, and Frederick Douglass, and argues that the intended point of the essay was to give hope to blacks at a time when scientists were questioning their future on the basis of suspicions about the impact of race mixing on their capacity to survive the struggle of existence. Huh? So this is why the people that must study from way back in them times they have to worry about for them existence. With Bernard Shoney's intervention debate about the Bois' 1897 essay, I turned to metaphysical questions of the relative value of anachronistic pretense and antiquarian historicist approaches to the study of the history of African American philosophy. See example Taylor 2013 and Goodwin Williams 2017. I'm going to look up them people I know. I'll find out what them really have to say. According to Jeffers, 2013, the appear-inspired discussion of Debois has ignored the distinction Debois draws between political and cultural versions of the thesis that race is constitutively constructed. The political version of the thesis, which Debois rejects, Jeffrey argues hold that racialized subordinations constitute its race very existence. 2013, 413. I guess it's paragraph 18. The cultural version, which Du Bois endorsed, Jeffrey argues all that the cultural factors mentioned in Du Bois' definition, traditions, ideals of life, and so on, constitutively construct races as distinct cultures. Jeffers, 2013, page 411. Jeffers describes the cultural version of socio-historical constitutionalism that he attributes to Du Bois as Du Bois' cultural theory of race. Jeffers advances criticism. I'm gonna tell you how them people always are criticized. These these clowns, these creeps, always criticizing definition of race, and unlike most other philosopher commentators of his casual explanation of the existence of spiritually and culturally distinct races. Regarding the latter, he questions the reliability of Du Bois' general historical account of the genesis of the social factors to which Du Bois attributes the existence of these races. Jeffers 2013 417. Regarding the former, he, he adduces? How can I word that there? An important conceptual point, namely that Du Bois neglects to justify the assumption that the historical and social fact that define the distinguish the constitute the spiritual distinct okay, read it again. And distinguish the spiritually distinct groups that the historian and sociologists identify as race should be thought to them as cultural entities, or as Du Bois himself sometimes writes, as nations. Absent Jeffers 2013 416. Absent that assumption, neither the historians nor the sociologists entitled to identify the clearly defined spiritually distinct group he or she observes are as races, and absent that assumption, Du Bois is hardly entitled to present the definition that he bases on what the historian and the sociologist observe as answering the question, what then is race? Is a race? I wonder if we still have all them argument today. What is a race? Notwithstanding his criticism of Du Bois, Jeffers, following Outlaw 1996, endorsed and defends Du Bois' strong commitment to the preservation and the cultivation of Black cultural differences. Jeffers also shown that Dubois maintained that commitment throughout his intellectual career. Okay, again, me tell you, say, I love the fact that this man has so much content. Mm-mm. There's no way I'm gonna read all of them something here. But this is one of the person I would have loved to go into his philosophies. Because again, you can tell that this man is a very smart man. Me just had take up again a couple of nights ago when I did Harriet Tubman, there was not a lot of content on her. But this man's got massive amount of information. And I love that. W.E.B. Dubois. May I have to go find W.E.B. Oh, William Edward Bogart. Bogart? That our long name. This man is very educated. And watch them have a bibliography. I can't even pronounce that. Bibliography. This man's got a lot of information. And again, I am just highlighting everybody when I got you. I am just highlighting how amazing so much women and men in a fluid culture. There's so much we can dive into. We can highlight. We can conversate about. We can research all of them things here. Again, me tell you some. These are the stuff where that I enjoy. Me love to look in our history and see how great we are because we keep on saying that we're great people. So me I go through them things I know for the month, and this is not just gonna be a month long thing because me here say them I will cancel Black History. But again, how can you cancel something that we're practicing? You know what I say? Black History Month is supposed to be a highlight of what we're doing every day. Every day we're supposed to pull up somebody and I do this person's story and I do that person's story, whether it's in music, whether it's in science, technology, all of them things are because I'm telling you, the first things that these people um um Miss Garvey, she was Miss Miss Amy Jacques Garvey. I did her story today. Today. She learned how to play the piano. Those are the things that we were cultured. We had skills. We were respectable. Right? So all of them things I may look upon and I say, wait a minute. What's missing here? Nobody now highlight these great people. And then great people deserve it. Because as them set the example, them set the standard. And we drop the ball. And upon we foot to drop the ball and I up and I run around upon 1 foot. Right? So again, I start off. Today's the third, and tomorrow is gonna be the first for many people were born in the month of February. I just want to big up all of the people them happy birth month from the beginning of my start of the month and the beginning of the giving, which is tomorrow. Because me say there's only 28 days in a February. So it's not for us to, oh, it's the shortest month. Me and people said that already. Oh, it's the short. No, it's for us to extend it. It's like how we start February 3 days ago. Me just assure say, if we want something, right, it's a possibility that we can create it for ourselves. Some of the things I'm gonna do with it, like all the Black Wall Street because it wasn't just the Black Wall Street that was we were successful in. We had university. One of the program them when I listen to, and I'm gonna play that. I'm gonna Google it on YouTube, and one night I'm gonna play that. That pretty much is just gonna be. I'm just gonna play it and just end the live just on that, and then come back and talk about that live. You know what I'm saying? So this is what I'm trying to show you. Even for me, I can do so much. I can all of this stuff that I'm doing now, I was doing before, long before all of them things have come out. But now I know my ability. My ability is just me to access it, right? I tell you, say, coming up next week, I have something coming up. Hopefully it'll be in the right direction, because I'm tell you, say, I've been pushing for this move. More put my sauce them on the market more. Oh yeah, to them I try to send all two buckler sauce. I try to send two buckler sauce to England to my brethren, and I tell you, say, the sauce come up to $80 for ship them off. Hmm? $80 for ship off two buckler sauce to England. So I say all of them things I have to go find a way where I can ship the sauce to England and not so expensive. See? And that may I tell you, say, anything standing our way, it's just a step to the next level. See? As soon as we beat that, then that the level there, it's time for up on the next level. You hear me I say? So next week, hopefully, some things can be in place. But there's so much stories me some more dive into. There's so much great people more. One of the things I'm more and the more and drop one or two of the people them small time people them on YouTube, like Rosie Unstoppable. She one lady, she cook pan, she have her cooking channel to more encourage her to do some more cooking. Daniel done a fear TV, have her over 100,000 followers already, so I'm not worry about she. There's need some big up too. All of the people them I need some big up. Debbie Jervis TV, she on Saturday. Um, Tomorrow our birthday, so she a go have her live tomorrow. And that me I say, you see, some people nah support you like that. Some people nah go big you up on them channel like that. You understand? Producer, we are one of the few people that will give me a shout out and, you know, tell people, say, go and go join my channel and thing. And one and two people stop on. And you know, some of them people, them subscribe to your channel for your day, and then them unsubscribe after that. But me say, the people that were supposed to show up are going to show up. You see, the people that are missing, they're missing for a reason. See? Because nobody can support you. Me never see a Pampas in a store we cut in a half. We only support you halfway. Right? All Pampas come fully support. So if you're not support a man or a woman fully, honestly, it don't make no sense. Me thank you no. We thank you no. Alright? Because a man go carry across the ocean, and as soon as they reach in the middle, I go drop you. Yo, look here. But tell you, say, what me I read about right now, the history of them people. These people are real people. You didn't have no doubt of how great these people are, because them live what them do on a daily basis. Them people are not walk around and I beat them chest and I tell you how article them is. Right? This is what me I say. I For the whole month, all of the people them when me I highlight are some amazing people. We can spend hours and hours and hours and mother love for we spend hours and hours and hours and talk about them people, yeah. But we don't, right? Them people then just say, yeah man. But we cannot let them people your greatness go to waste, right? Are we supposed to introduce them people to the next generation? And I say, watch out. You see them people here? We rate them people here. And as such tradition is carry on. I tell you, so the man here is very intelligent. Man, I forgot to do some more reading on him and do some more. Because me tell you, say, I love these stuff though, man. These are the stuff when I listen to a person talk about these stuff all night. If a person I do them stuff here, just a talk about, you know, from if them a talk about like from financial, or if you set up your financial banking and all of them stuff that we're supposed to talk about. Or if you start a business, the first step for starting a business. Those are the stuff what we need. We need them. The next generation need them. You see me do Burkina Faso and all the young generation them hungry for somebody who's leading in the right direction. Because if kids are impressionable, right, them are gonna follow anybody. They're gonna follow anybody. If them see 10 gunmen in the neighborhood, them are gonna follow 10 gunmen. If them see 10 Christian in the neighborhood, them are gonna follow 10 Christian. If them find 10 them are gonna follow 10 but whoever it is, them have the mind is there to be molded. That's why I said the discipline where we have from a little bit, our mind is molded in discipline, right? So this is why when we hear them vulgar, potty mouth people, it kind of turn me off. It's like we cringe because we're not used to them things, and it's hard for we to say, "Oh, that's acceptable." Just because we don't accept it, no means that we feel accept it. We just not come and jump in on our face and say, "Oh, no, fi act better." Because guess what? We don't know Bible I beat people with. Ah, and sometimes the people that want to beat people with Bible need to get beating themselves straight. What me say? Me no want mash up the one super duper late night chat with. Me just I say I just love the fact say these people are so intelligent and there's so much for us to learn from them. I'm always willing to learn. Manners, respect people. You see me, I get better with this manners, respect. Yeah? Yeah? No? No? Manners, respect me. Hashtag it now. I'm create a word, a new word. And it means so much more. Manners, respect people. Manners and respect out. Manners, respect is in. Me already have playback on the playback. Tankono, tankono, tankono. Big up on yourself. So on 2 o'clock tomorrow. Seen? Like up the live. Share up the live. Sure know I go already. Big up on yourself. I am Mr. Unlimited.